Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama कलयुग पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं, देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया, भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4th, chapter number 8. Dhruva Mahārāja leaves home for forest. Today's text is text number 11. Na vatsa nṛpater dhiṣṇyam bhavān āroḍhum arhati na gṛhīto mayā tvam kukṣāv nṛpa-ātmajaḥ na vatsa nṛpater dhiṣṇyam bhavān āroḍhum arhati na gṛhīto mayā tvam kukṣāv nṛpa-ātmajaḥ na vatsa nṛpater dhiṣṇyam bhavān āroḍhum arhati na gṛhīto mayā tvam kukṣāv nṛpa-ātmajaḥ. Na vatsa nṛpater dhiṣṇyam bhavān āroḍhum arhati kukṣāv nṛpa-ātmajaḥ. Na vatsa nṛpater dhiṣṇyam bhavān āroḍhum arhati na gṛhīto mayā tvam kukṣāv nṛpa-ātmajaḥ. Na vatsa nṛpater dhiṣṇyam bhavān āroḍhum arhati na gṛhīto mayā. We'll see word to word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Na, not, vatsa, my dear child, nṛpate, of the king, dhiṣṇyam, seat, bhavān, yourself, āroḍhum, to get on, arhati, deserve, na, not, gṛhītaḥ, taken, mayā, by me, yat, because, tvam, you, kukṣau, in the womb, api, although, nṛpa-ātmajaḥ, son of the king. Translation. Queen Suruci told Dhruva Mahārāja, my dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king, but because you did not take your birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. Please repeat translation. Queen Suruci told Dhruva Mahārāja, my dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king. But because you did not take your birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. Purport. Queen Suruci very proudly informed Dhruva Mahārāja that to be the king's son was not the qualification for sitting on the lap or throne of the king. Rather, this privilege was dependent on one's having taken birth from her womb. In other words, she indirectly informed Dhruva Mahārāja that although he happened to be born of the king, he was considered an illegitimate son because of his birth from the womb of the other queen. Om Ajñānatimirandhasya Jnānāñjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajata सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So before we start, we'd like to seek the blessings of all the devotees so that we speak something worthwhile on this wonderful episode, what's going on about Maharaj Dhruva. So few years back, there was a 2G scam. Somebody has done some scam in some kind of networks or something. So one devotee was sharing, this 2G scam is happening not only now, but it's going on so many lifetimes. There are 2Gs. Hare Krishna. Prabhu has come. So 2Gs are what? First G is called as a Google. So much information is loaded on the Google, and there are lakhs and lakhs of users are there on that Google. Google search, that's a Google, first G. Right? Lakhs and lakhs of users are there on that daily. Per second, almost thousands and thousands. The number is also more than 6 digits. People are hooked on to that Google. But then they forgot the second G. That second G is a God. Instead of searching with the God, instead of reviving our connection with the God, now they are simply spending time with the Google only. Right? So this is an unfortunate state. And Google is filled with the information. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Bhagwan ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So Google is filled with the information, and for that matter, all the internets and browsers and all filled with tons and tons of information, truckloads of information. But unfortunately, instead of having so much information, we don't find any transformation in the lives of the people. Everyone knows in the world what is right, what is wrong. You ask any man, you ask any living entity, he understands. But then, to live life with those good principles and all, we find very tough, very difficult. Why? Because people are not able to see the living example of those information, of practical information in their life. The people are able to apply those wonderful information in their life, right? So that's what this Bhagavatam is wonderful opportunity. The God himself has come in the form of Bhagavatam, right? So we should take this opportunity in our life that daily we spend time, as Prabhupada has told, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So surely it will bring out that transformation. Bhagavatam also gives a lot of information, but some or other, even though we don't understand also, some or other we come in touch with this wonderful godly personality in the form of this book, then surely it will bring out the great transformation. So, the soul is being an eternal part and parcel of the Lord is always pure, right? But then unfortunately what happened? Now the 6 thieves have entered, taken over the souls. So lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion. These are the 6 thieves. And they have stolen our treasure. What is our true treasure? Krishna Prem, our connection with the Supreme Lord, right? Of which we originally belong to that place. But now 6 thieves have entered and they have plundered over all this treasure. And now it is covered over, right? So there is a difference. The normal world people, the thievery happens, right? The gold and wealth and all gets lost. But beauty is, because we are originally with Krishna, this treasure is not lost. Although there are 6 thieves are there, this treasure is not lost. It is covered over, right? And that's what human form of life is, an opportunity, is a time for doing the homework of uncovering those things and reviving our true treasure. And what happened because of these 6 thieves? Person becomes self-centered. Person identifies with his own body, identifies with his own self, and thinks that he, aham nija paro vetti, jananam laghu chetasam. He becomes so mean-minded that he thinks that me and my things are only the all and all. And that's what this episode is beginning. The episode before we saw about the Daksha's episode. That was also the throne issue. Lord Shiva did not got up from throne. It created an issue for Daksha. Here also the throne issue is happening. Suruci is seeing that Dhruva is sitting on the lap. And then Suruci is not seeing only the lap, but Suruci is seeing below the lap also. Now he is on the lap. And very soon in the years, below the lap, that the throne is also there. So that's the laghu chetasa. That is the mean-mindedness of people who identify with their own self. Instead of identifying with the true self as part and parcel of the Lord, right, as an eternal servant of the Lord. So people become so self-centered, right? So that's then the whole purpose of human form of life is defeated. And then we get carried away by the dictation of these 6 thieves. These thieves, they make, and then one of the Swami, he was giving a nice analogy. There are 2 dogs in our heart. One is a good dog and one is a bad dog. So, and both are barking, both are making a sound, right? But which dog makes the bigger sound, to that we pay our attention. To that we pay our response to take that as our action, right? So with the help of these 6 thieves, this bad dog is becoming stronger and stronger, right? And to the degree we forget God, to the degree we lead our life in an artificial way, thinking that these worldly things will make us happy, right? These worldly achievements is the real success of life. If we go on with this calculation, then we are feeding the food to the bad dog. And the good dog is starving. The good dog is not given the food of association of devotees, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names. This is a food for the good dog. Now good dog is starving and the sound of good dog is reducing. And that's what we don't understand then, what is right and what is wrong. So we all have a choice with us, right? Life is a journey from B to D, from birth to death. And a middle letter is a C, choice. Life is always offering a lot of choices for all of us. Spiritual world beauty is, it is absolute. Right? There is no choice, because Krishna is absolute and soul is always with the Supreme Lord. So there is no second thought apart from the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. But this material world, it is a relative world. And that's what we have a lot of options in front of us. Shall I open Srimad Bhagavatam and read? Or shall I open some other magazines or news channels or other things and I get myself into that? So the life is filled with the choices, right? So we need to understand. Here also we were thinking about Suruci and Suniti. This is kind of a sound of a good dog and the sound of a bad dog. And Uttanapad, as yesterday we heard so beautifully from Prabhuji, right? Now Uttanapad has become like a hen-pecked husband for the Suruci, right? Suruci, the Ruchi, right? The Uttanapad was getting attracted by the external beauty, right? So what is attraction principle in our life? If you go on with attraction only for the external parameters, then we'll get cheated later, because that's not the permanent, right? The real beauty, the real value of the person is his character, his values, right? His God-centered life. So that was with Suniti, right? Niti means the culture, Niti means the values. So she represents that thoughts coming from the good dog. So Uttanapad somehow he succumbed to the response of the bad dog, and that's what now we know what's going to happen. And now here the Suruci is beginning her dialogues. This is few next 2-3 verses about the Suruci's dialogues. That is a sound of a bad dog, and then the Suniti's dialogues will come. What Mother Suniti responds to Dhruva, right? So Srimad Bhagavatam helps us to come out of these all lower tendencies. And why Srimad Bhagavatam is written? Anartha upasamam sakshat bhakti yogam adhokshaje, right? And lokasya ajanato vidvams chakre satvata samta. People in this world, they are not understanding how to get rid of the problems. Ajanata, wo kuch jante nahi hai ki how to overcome the problems of life, right? So for their welfare, chakre satvata samhita. This samhita, this Purana is being written by that Rishi who has come, right? And what is the result of this scripture? The next shloka it says, Yasyam vai shruyamanayam Krishne parama purushe. So when we hear about that param purusha from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, then what is the result? Bhaktir utpaddate pumsam. The unalloyed devotion to the Supreme Lord gets awakened. And then what is the advantage of that? Why shall I awaken that? Shoka moha bhayapaha. Right? Shok, moh और bhai का अपहरण हो जाता है अपने जीवन से. All those things get rid of it, right? People are lamenting about the past, right? They are illusioned about the present, and they are worried about the future, right? Fear about the future. All those things are been cleared up. Life becomes so smooth, completely sheltered. That is the beauty of taking this message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So people are running behind the short-term pleasures. That's why Maitreya Muni, he begins speaking his conversation with Vidura, saying that statement. Why I am speaking you this Srimad Bhagavatam? Soham nunam kshulla sukhaya dukkham. For that kshulla, for very temporary, momentary happiness, people are mad. People are simply wasting this golden opportunity of the human form of life, right? And then this pravartaye Bhagavatam Puranam. So to give them the right happiness, this Bhagavatam Purana is being spoken. And he also, Yadaha Sakshat Bhagavan Rishibhya. That Bhagavan Rishi, the God in the form of sage who has come, that is Vedavyas, he has given this Srimad Bhagavatam. So unfortunately here Suruci is also calculating her happiness in terms of her son, in terms of her relationship with her husband. And that's what mistake is done by Uttanapad also, to allow to the take action of the Suruci. What Suruci is responding, so he also acknowledged. And then he did not spoke. Right? By not speaking, by his silence, it became a violence for Dhruva Mahārāja. It will come in the next few shlokas. So in our life also we have a choice to what to respond and what to not to respond. So Uttanapad would have taken a right action for this Suruci's what is happening here, but then he did not. So another famous throne issue we can understand from the famous episode of Dhritarashtra. He was also having a throne issue for his sons, which is against the Pandavas. There also he don't wanted Pandavas to sit on the throne. He wanted his own sons, right? And that's what the when the Pandu left his body untimely, then Dhritarashtra was thinking, no, I am the king. And he continued his attachment to the throne. Here Suruci's attachment for her son to become the king, right? So this is aham mameti. Aham, mama, iti, right? All calculation goes based on me, mine, I, me, mine, right? All those. Then naturally, person forgets the true self. Person forgets about what is the right thing, going beyond I, me, mine. Another throne episode happened in the Srimad Bhagavatam is about Indra. Prithu Mahārāja was doing a yajna, But then Indra got fear. Indra got alarmed. Oh, he wants my throne, right? So, and that's what he created, a complete mess of making himself into the form of sage sannyasis, and then trying to allure Prabhu Maharaj and all. But the beauty is Prabhu, he followed the words of the Brahma. And that's what 99 became greater than 100. In Dhritarashtra's case, 5 became greater than 100. Right? So this is a beauty. One who follows with a good advice, right? Follows with a good injunction. Naturally, the even simple things can become glorious. Right? So nothing is needed. So one more aspect to understand from the life of this Suruci, right? We can see that what is our vision, right? So as we said just now, Suruci's vision is, now Dhruva is a natural boy. He's like a child, and he's not like a someone else's child. He's also begotten from the Uttanapad only. But now Prabhupada is giving a feeling of Suruci. Suruci is indirectly telling, your birth from Uttanapad is not important. Your birth should come from me. Then only your birth is important. And yesterday also we heard from Prabhuji, right? Suruci is indirectly telling that you go and worship Vishnu and ask him to take birth from my womb. So Vishnu's worship is done to come out of the cycle of birth and death, right? Not to fall again into the trap of birth and death. But now here Suruci is telling that you worship Vishnu, and Vishnu should sanction to come through my womb. So just imagine how much this self-conception has become so prominent, right? So her vision is covered up with those 6 thieves, with the I, me, mine, the false ego especially. And here Prabhupada is writing about pride. Queen Suruci very proudly informed Dhruva that king's son is not the qualification to sit on the throne. So if you see, everyone is given a rightful resources, right? Krishna has created this universe in very, very well-sustainable model, right? Ahastani sahastanam, apadani chatushpadam, falguni tatra mahatam, jivo jivasya jivanam. Perfect system Krishna has designed. So, but unfortunately, even one of the scientists, environmentalist, I missed out his name. So he presents one paper. He says that whole ecology is perfectly fine, perfectly going on. All the living entities, they are perfectly mutually going on in a well reciprocation without any problem. But unfortunately, one living entity has entered into this cycle of nature and has messed up the whole cycle. You know who is that living entity? We human beings, right? And it's not that human beings are wrong, but unfortunately, as we said in the beginning, right? He lost his connection, and now he's allowing himself to get with these 6 thieves, right? So that greed, pride, envy, right? It has taken over him. And he thinks that now, why others should enjoy? I am the only object of enjoyment, right? So now that's where the whole, the rightful share which is given by the Lord for everyone is also been encroached by these greedy people. That's what we see. There is a sufficient for everyone's need, but not for one man's greed, right? So much Mother Nature can supply in abundance, right? Even it has been said in the scriptures, right now what population we have, 10 times of this population is, even if it is there, Mother Earth can supply in abundance. And logically also we can understand Krishna is a Supreme Father. He is a Purna Purushottam Bhagavān. And this is his creation, right? This is coming from him, not from any ordinary mortal who will find a challenge for maintaining the balance of this nature, right? So he can supply, right? But unfortunately, like a mischievous child, right? The toy is given to both the child, but then that one child wants to take the toy from other child also. He is not allowing to that child also to play with that toy, right? So this is something where all children of God, but human being thinks that why these animals and all are there? They are meant for my enjoyment, right? Why they are living? Let me exploit them. Let me take them over. And this issue becomes such a global level. Even there are cold wars. Cold war is even much more dangerous than even the direct wars also, right? Right. So this creates a complete imbalance into the social society. So Krishna created this sustainability system, which brings out Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, with one family of whole world, whole universe, right? Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva, right? There will be one God, one scripture, one mantra, whole world becomes as a one unit. But unfortunately now what is happening? Everybody calculates himself as a self-centered. Everybody thinks I am the unit of the whole world. And he tried to manipulate, he tried to arrange the whole world with his own perception. And that's what Suruci is trying to do now. Suruci is thinking of her own self. Suruci is calculating her own son's pleasure. In the sense, then through son, she is seeing her own self also. And that's why she is encroaching the rightful claim of Dhruva. Right? So now they are children, and in the sense, the issue would have resolved a little later. When the children grown up and all, Uttanapad would have surely given a rightful share for both of them and all. Right? But then she created so much issue, right? Even for the small children also, like this the case happened. Yesterday we heard the point, right? How we behave in front of children, right? The children will get samskara accordingly. And another interesting thing is Suruci is standing in front of her husband, right? So naturally husband is a senior position in the sense as per the system given by the God. Husband is a worshipable and the wife follows faithfully a husband. So husband husband follows Guru, Guru is following Krishna. Like that wife follows the husband, naturally everyone goes back home, back to God. So it brings out the good accountability of proper behavior in front of our superiors, right? So now Suruci, how she is behaving. Why? Because Suruci is seeing her connection. She is taking undue advantage of her connection with her husband. She understood that my husband favors me more than all other co-wives. Right? And that connection, Suruci took the undue advantage. And that's what she went on speaking directly. So, we have to also think in our life about our connection. We are also connected to the glorious parampara of Srila Prabhupada, all acharyas. And now also we have Vartaman acharyas and the devotees and all. So how we see this connection in our life, right? So that plays a very, very important role. Another episode we were hearing from our teacher, we can understand similar situation about Suruci dealings in front of Uttanapad in connection with Dhruva. So when Krishna and Balram were entering into Mathura, right, because Vidura comes and then, Akrura comes to take Krishna and Balram. Kamsa sends Akrura to give the invitation in the name of Yajna. So everyone was knowing there is some crooked plan by Kamsa. But then Krishna, Balram, they takes this opportunity now to go and kill Kamsa. So while entering into the Mathura, right, they come across one washerman, the Dhobi, who is serving Kamsa. And Krishna and Balram sees that nice clothes and everything are there with this Dhobi. So as a children, they ask, can you give some of the clothes to us? We're all children and all we want to wear. Now this Dhobi took undue advantage of his connection with Kamsa. There are many Dhobis surely would have been in Mathura, right? He is not the only one. But he is thinking that I am Kamsa's Dhobi. I am King's Dhobi. And how you dare to ask these things from me? What is your right to ask? You foolish children, get lost from here. Right? You see how he dared to speak in front of the Supreme Lord. Why this happened? Because of his undue connection with Kamsa. Right? He used his position of connection with Kamsa even to chastise the Supreme Lord who has come for his opportunity. Yeah. So that's what we need to. And then finally what happened? He got destroyed. Right? Krishna just by his one small touch to the neck killed him. Right? So but then where are other people? Right? We know the another episode of Kubja. After traveling for a few more distance, Mother Kubja comes. And she was carrying a chandan. She was also serving Kamsa. She was also carrying her duty was every day to carry sandalwood pulp and give to Kamsa. But Krishna comes and offers her also the same opportunity, what was given to Dhobi. But Kubja made a wise choice. Kubja thought, okay, this is an opportunity for me to render the devotional service to my Supreme Lord. So she did not care. She did not worried about her connection with Kamsa. Rather, she got an opportunity to revive her original connection with Lord Krishna. And that's what we know later. Krishna fulfills all desires of Kubja and revives her original body in the youthful form. So we have a choice with us, what we want to bring out. Later this episode will unfold what brought out from the episode of Suruci. Because of her this action, what happened to her? The Bhagavatam says, Dhruva was, although he was not a pure devotee, in the sense he was not yet manifested his pure devotion to the Supreme Lord. But because later Dhruva became the pure devotee, right, that the Suruci's insult to Dhruva reacted for Suruci to getting killed by the snake bite, I guess, right? Suruci goes into the forest and she gets killed by the snake bite. So the Lord himself says this provocation. So this is a unfortunate fate brought out. As washerman got the unfortunate fate, he was having a fortunate opportunity, but he did not. So this we need to understand how we are taking undue advantage of our connection or proper advantage of our connection. So, and then Uttanapadas, from the frame of Uttanapad, what is happening, right? Because of his non-devotional obligations towards Suruci, his duty he could not able to perform rightly, right? So everyone, we have our duties and we have our emotions also. Duty versus emotions. So now Uttanapada's reference point of view, his emotions with the Suruci were lower standards. They were not appreciated, right? Favoritism especially, right? Siding somebody and then not attending the others. And yesterday we heard about how kings, especially king, is a father for whole praja, not only human beings but even for the animals and living entities as well. But here Uttanapad is favoring Suruci. So his devotional duties, his devotional service, in the sense his devotional responsibilities towards Dhruva became compromised because of his non-devotional obligation towards Suruci. So we have to also check in our life. Our emotions, his emotions towards Suruci made him an obstacle to perform his rightful duty towards Dhruva Mahārāja. So this is a reference frame from Uttanapad's case. So we also have our emotions, turmoil goes on inside. So what priority we give in our life, right? So we were hearing of a nice incident. We can understand how the duties are given a more priority even over the emotions. That once we know, after the Pandavas ruled successfully, that was a time the Pandavas retired, and Yudhishthira Maharaj starts walking towards the north, right? He goes on. Because generally olden days, ancient time, that was a system, traveling towards the north, because that's what they find the Supreme Lord. And they don't depend also on any other thing, what comes on the way. Whatever they will get and all, they will go on and then continue their journey. So then I think Vaikuntha plane comes and Yudhishthira Maharaj was about to board. But there was somebody else also who was accompanying Yudhishthira Maharaj. Anyone knows who was there with Yudhishthira Maharaj? A dog was there, a puppy was there. And Yudhishthira Maharaj says, where is another plane for this dog? They said, no, this is not a time given for the dog. This is a time for you to come. Yudhishthira Maharaj says, I will not come if you take puppy also with you. Yeah. Now what is the connection? Yudhishthira Maharaj has performed his rightful duties, his devotional things and all. Now he is going to go back home, back to Godhead. But he is not seeing, the Yudhishthira Maharaj was seeing that this dog also journeyed with me. This dog also did a tapasya of traveling towards the north. So he also deserves a rightful claim to go to the Vaikuntha. So then then that dog turns to be the Dharmaraj and he says, yes, I was just tasting how you are rightfully towards all living entities. Right? So these are the example in front of us. So our devotional duties, our devotional obligations should not get succumbed because of our non-devotional obligation towards because of the emotions. So Suruci took the undue advantage of Uttanapada's emotions. And then what happens because of pride, right? Undue feeling of prideless due to one's closeness to the one's superiors. So as we said, Suruci's connection with Uttanapada. So sometime we can look into our life also. How somebody starts, especially now we are into the devotee circle. So there is a natural, because this is Kali Yuga and we get carried away by our mental things and all. Naturally the groupisms becomes obvious, right? Which guru's disciple are you? Or which group you belongs to? And that's what one starts, favoritism to the people or giving the favors to the devotees. And as Suruci was telling, you cannot be the part of my circle until you come from my connection. So if devotees also calculate in that sense that, okay, now if he belongs to our guru's group or if he doesn't belong to our circle, then he cannot be considered the part or giving opportunity for him to grow in his devotional life. So we understand everyone is a unique. Everyone is not like a monotonous that put in a same channel. Everyone have their individual inspirations and all. So if that inspiration is not kept in a center, how his growth in his Krishna consciousness can be fanned, how his growth in Krishna consciousness can be made. If that priority is not made, and rather we are seeing him to put into the groups or put into the some kind of circles and all, then the purpose is defeated. Suruci was trying to, Suruci as a mother, right? We heard about the episode of Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi was so happy to hear the news that Lord Rama is going to become the king, right? But then later what happened? Because of the influence of Manthara, she had completely became against the, and then finally whole situation got messed up. So same way, for individual soul, individual personality who comes in our touch, or in the matter of practicing Krishna consciousness, are we keeping our name, fame because of his connection with us, or are we keeping his Krishna conscious growth in the center, and what makes him to revive his connection with Krishna better? So we have to understand, and that's what Krishna also observes. So, and then accordingly the results will be manifested. The selfless versus selfish. So selfless devotional service will bring out the wonderful result, right? Susukham kartum avyam. It will bring out the real happiness. And to summarize the whole Dhruva Mahārāja episode, right? This first point is about dualities of the world, right? There is always in the world like and dislikes will always be there. Now here we see Dhruva Mahārāja, Uttanapad like Suruci, he, in the sense he neglected Suniti. So we have to take the dualities very properly. We should not get carried away by the dualities, but understand and connect to the absolute things, right? And then how to overcome the dualities? Take help by hearing about Lord Hari, right? Dhruva Mahārāja came out his duality by approaching to Mother Suniti, and that's what he heard about Lord Hari from Suniti, and he overcome his problems in his life, right? But then when we get the solution by hearing, we should be rigid in our practice. That's what Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita, a success is guaranteed to the rigid practitioner, right? So Dhruva Mahārāja was rigidly performed his tapasya, what he heard from Mother Suniti and Lord, his Guru Narada Muni, right? He was rigidly determined. And then what is the result of that rigid devotional practice? Motivational approach turned out to be unmotivated result, right? He approached like sadhaka. Dhruva exemplifies a sadhaka situation. As a sadhaka, we have a lot of motives. We also think that I'll get this, I'll get that. And Dhruva Mahārāja was similarly in that sense. He wanted a kingdom, motive. But that motive, motivated devotional practice turned out to be the unmotivated practice, right? So Dhruva Mahārāja case, we can observe that. And then be like a Vaishnava. Right? Dhruva Mahārāja, after became a pure devotee of the Lord, then the later we can understand. A Vaishnava, he will never keep vengeance in his life. He forgets all previous misdealings done by the people around. And we can see the episode of Uttama. When Uttama gets killed by the Yakshas, how much Dhruva becomes angry. Dhruva would have thought in one way, anyway, fine. Because of him, the issue happened to me in the beginning. No, but Dhruva forgot that animosity completely, right? Even he embraced Mother Suruci. He never said anything about any news about, he did not brought out any issue about previous things. So be like a Vaishnava. And finally, attitude of gratitude, right? Dhruva Mahārāja, when going back home, back to Godhead, we hear, he was performing his puja with the sages. So he not immediately jumped into the plane. He offered all the due respects to all the sages, all the people around. And not only that, while going also in the plane, he was asking about his mother. Because because of his mother, he was able to get in connection with Lord Vishnu. So that is attitude of gratitude. So this whole Dhruva acronym, we can remember the whole episode. The dualities of the world, we can overcome by taking a help about hearing from about Lord Hari. And when we hear about that, be the rigid practice. Perform very rigidly. So Dhruva Mahārāja episode, yes, we want to be determined, we want to perform tapasyas. This is a very encouraging episode for all of us. Right? So we should be avowed to chant our 16 rounds, follow purely, right, without any motives. And then such rigid practice will bring out that selfless devotional service in our life also. That is unmotivated, that is you. And then naturally qualities like Vaishnava will come up. And that is a result into the gratitude towards all the people around us who have helped us in our life. So thank you all for giving your patience hearing. and we seek the prayers that we'll also follow these good teachings what are going to come in the episode of Dhruva Mahārāja as much as we can put in our life honestly and purely. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you all very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.